Hey everybody, welcome to Gundam Build Guide, and now we have a very special shout out and message to my first and only Patreon subscriber, Spider-Man. Spider-Man is now giving me enough money to buy one burrito a week, and that definitely helps. After decades of running this worthless YouTube channel, I finally made a profit. Anyway, until I have 2 Patreon subscribers, I will now be uploading a random picture of Spider-Man every week, I guess. Okay, on to normal Gundam news. This was another action-packed week. Starting off, here's a quick reaction to the first Gundam 00 revealed Chronicle episode Devise. So this is potentially the only episode of the Gundam 00 model kit related revival. After friggin' like 12 years, it's definitely nostalgic hearing the Gundam 00 BGM again in a new context. And as expected, this was pretty much the format of the old Gundam Evolve videos from 20 years ago. The only big difference was they also added these non-animated manga-style cutscenes of like the pilots, Setsuna, and honestly, they look really bad and they kind of take away from the experience. Considering they could have literally just used stock footage from the Gundam 00 series for these scenes, or just not done them at all, or done them in basic CGI, I'm kind of shocked because the series looks like hot shit until these badly colored manga panels pop up. Like, the manga panels have this like real uncanny valley of like, they kind of put some effort into it, but not enough for it to look good, so they're a real head scratcher. Anyway, so the topic of this video is that Setsuna and Lock-On have a mock battle, and also an engineer gives them these brand new full vernier backpacks that have these little General Grievous arms that pull out beam sabers. And the premise is that they invent this new GN Devise backpack, and it's like a step towards the eventual development of the 00 Gundam. Anyway, there's a twist at the end, and I'm not going to ruin the ending because you should just watch it yourself. It's only 8 minutes long, yeah, it's free, but yeah, half this video is just Gundams flying around with no movement over a desert and these badass manga cut-ins for dialogue. I wish they could have just not had the bad manga cut-ins or just skip them over because they look like ass. The last couple of minutes of this video is a pure commercial where they just mentioned that there's a build metal model kit of both these suits. And the model kit can do literally everything that the suits just did in the video. There's also a trailer implying that I guess there's more of these to come, and eventually if you stick with them, Setsuna will fight a new enemy. So that's the Gundam 00 revival that we might not have wanted, but that's the one we got. Now on the other hand, here's an IBO revival. Mobile Suit Gundam IBO Uder Hunt, a side story spin-off set on Venus between the first season but before the second season of IBO, was officially announced in a pre-pandemic right after New Year's announcement in 2019. I was originally under the impression that this was a straight-up side story OVA, but here we are 5 years later, and now that's finally coming out. It's apparently a video game with heavy OVA elements, similar to Gundam Code Fairy, but it's launching on cell phones instead of proper consoles. So we got the intro to the game. The intro looks cool as hell, honestly. The main protagonist is a blonde Mikazuki clone named Wisterio Afam, who pilots the incredibly crazy sounding Gundam Haji Roboshi. Might just call that the Robo Gundam for short. Anyway, the big news on the street is that Wisterio is being voiced by a former AKB48, a member of the Japanese sexy idol girl troupe. The AKB48 is Japan's famous 48-member girl band to outdo one of Korea's 36-member boy bands. Anyway, so the actress in point is Rina Ikoma, a girl who used to be all about wearing bikinis in the winter, but now she stopped doing that and got herself a fine pair of glasses to show that she's a career woman now and she's going to voice act some anime. Anyway, we got some more mecha designs, and they're pretty weird as typical IBO designs go. And lastly, in the final bit of Gundam news, Hokkaido has installed a series of Gundam-style manholes. So next time you go to Hokkaido, just look down at the manholes, because you might see a Gundam or a Dom. It looks like it's only Gundams and Doms. Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's talk about Gundam Breaker Mobile this week. Alright, so the biggest news that I have to talk about first things first is something that, once again, Bamco has swept under the rug. Apparently, the game's event schedule, which has been very stable for the past 3 years, is now getting a slowdown / change up on the basis that maybe the game's running out of content because they keep doing the same suits over and over again. So this new schedule can only be seen on the game's official website, but I'm showing it to you here now. The new schedule seems to imply that going forward, instead of there being brand new cool mass missions every week, there's now only going to be new missions every other week, which sucks. More complicatedly, instead of there being crew multi-missions once a month, they'll now be happening twice a month. Ugh. That's rough. Man, I haven't even done the crew multi-missions for this month. In further changes, the battle circuit will still have 3 weeks for you to beat it, but instead of a multi-mission event landing on the 3rd week, it'll now land on the 2nd week, which is also a pain in the butt. All in all, in the end, this ultimately means there's going to be less original content in the game, but more multi-missions, which I kind of shrug at. Now, to try and patch the slowdown in original content, they also plan on doing brand new bi-weekly custom event missions, which they tried doing once before and it was kind of a disaster, but maybe it'll be better this time. As usual, any major change in the game just kind of fills me with dread because I don't like it when they change shit. And yeah, so let's move on to this week. This week is maybe the most boring week ever. The suit of the week is just the Banshee, and it's literally just the same old Banshee, but now it's bigger, which makes it like the 1000th Unicorn Gundam variety we've seen like ever. So I pulled on the Banshee out of duty, and the banner does have very good odds of you actually getting the Banshee parts. I did 5 pulls, I got 4 pieces in those 5 pulls, so the odds seem to be up this week. I was not able to take advantage of upsizing the Banshee to 1/100 scale because my money is all up in smoke from all the parts I got from the 36-hour banner last week. And I've almost cleared them all out now, but I've still got a few left and it's holding me up. Anyway, so I used the Banshee parts and some cool-ass Gundam Sentinel era pieces to make a prototype Banshee C1, and that is my suit of the week. Anyway, I made a mistake in pulling on the Banshee banner. You really don't need to, guys. This is a treasure key week, which means that the weekly events aren't scoring the points from your builds, so you can probably just get by with a Unicorn era focused team or otherwise a Zagaki from last week. But yeah, at least with the extra points from the Banshee, I can get extra treasure keys. And with the extra treasure keys, I can get money and I can probably dig out from the duplicate pile of red parts that are holding me back. Anyway, so the charity suit this week is completely worth it though. It's the Lacus Zaku Warrior Custom, and even though I don't like seed suits, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Zaku Warrior because it's a Zaku on steroids designed to fight all the seed Gundams. And this is the most ridiculous one. It's pink, it's got goofy graffiti, it's got weird tattoos, and topping it all off, it has this insane Lacus Clyne attack where it actually attacks an enemy Gundam with freaking Lacus Clyne. Oh wait, is that actually Lacus Clyne? It might be an imposter. Anyway, this is like one of the coolest cutscenes they've ever done in the game. It's definitely like up there with like the Mandala Gundam from a few weeks ago. And even if the game is slowing down in content, at least they keep pulling out crazy shit like this to keep it interesting. Anyway, aside from that, new Battle Circuit came out. New Battle Circuit was pretty fun. I made a Metal Gear. That was like the highlight of my activities. And yeah, I cleared it with the usual amount of difficulty, but speed that I'm usually used to. Oh, and on a final note, that there's a fun side tangent on the official channel. They released a prologue chapter for the game's story showing how Santa and the protagonist met, but honestly, this is really just another commercial for the game for people who haven't played it, and to try and drag them into the story. Anyway, so that's kind of everything going on with Gundam and Gundam Breaker Mold this week. The schedule change has me a little bit worried, especially if they're going to be rolling out more duplicate suits like the Banshee and shit I don't really care about. Otherwise, yeah, not the worst week ever. And I finally got a Patreon, so woo, Patreon money. All right, thank you guys. I'll see you next week. And be out. Later.